Three strikers Arsenal could sign to replace Viktor Gyokeres. When Arsenal signed Viktor Gyokeres for €66.9 million last summer, they thought they'd secured the signature of a world-class striker capable of helping them end their lengthy trophy drought. The Sweden international had netted a whopping 97 goals in just 102 appearances across a hugely successful two-year stint at Sporting CP, and he was regarded as arguably the best striker available on the market. Since his arrival at the Emirates Stadium, however, Gyokeres has looked a shadow of the player who tore things up in Portugal. He has scored 7 goals in 24 matches for Arsenal, but he has only found the back of the net on 2 occasions in his last 15 Premier League appearances, one of which came from the penalty spot versus Everton in December. In addition, the return to fitness of Gabriel Jesus has provided Mikel Arteta with another option in attack, while Kai Havertz made just his second appearance of the campaign during Arsenal's victory over Portsmouth in the FA Cup on Sunday. As a result, Gyokeres' spot as a guaranteed starter now looks in real doubt, and Arsenal could be back to the exact place they found themselves in last year regarding their striker options. Of course, they are in pole position to win the Premier League title this season, but they were desperate to sign an upgrade on Jesus and Havertz in 2025, and considering Gyokeres has failed to achieve this, dipping back into the market for another new striker is a distinct possibility. Below, Football Transfers runs through 3 strikers Arsenal could target to replace Gyokeres later this year. Igor Thiago, Brentford. Brentford's knack of finding top-quality strikers is simply incredible, and Igor Thiago is the latest off the production line. After selling Ivan Toney to Al Ahly in 2024 and Yoane Wissa to Newcastle in 2025, Thiago has stepped up big time this campaign, and he has already scored 16 goals in just 21 Premier League games. The Brazilian is on a red-hot streak, and although there is no guarantee his form will continue beyond the 2025-26 season, he is still only 24 years old, and he is proving his credentials as a fantastic center-forward week in, week out. Marcus Thuram, Inter. Marcus Thuram has been a reliable performer for Inter Milan since his arrival from Borussia Mönchengladbach in 2023, and he has been linked with a move to Arsenal on a number of occasions over the past few years. The Frenchman isn't quite as prolific as his Inter strike partner Lautaro Martinez, however, he has still notched 44 goals in 117 games for the Italian Giants, and he seems far more attainable than his teammate. Thuram's physical traits would undoubtedly translate well to the Premier League, and the fact he provided 20 assists in his first 2 full seasons in Serie A suggests his link-up play would help the likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli, and Leandro Trossard boost their goal-scoring numbers. Samu Agehoa, Porto. The final potential option to replace Gyokeres at Arsenal is FC Porto star Samu Agehoa. Signing a striker from the Portuguese league hasn't worked with Gyokeres, but Agehoa is a far younger prospect at just 21 years old, while he also starred for Alaves in La Liga before his move to Porto. The Spanish international has netted 46 times in 70 games for Porto, including a brace versus Manchester United in the Europa League last season, and he looks like one of the brightest center-forward talents in world football. This is really who's to blame for stupid Gabriel Martinelli-Connor Bradley incident in Arsenal versus Liverpool. Gabriel Martinelli should not be wholly blamed for the incident involving Liverpool's Connor Bradley against Arsenal. That is according to former PGMOL chief and ex-FIFA referee Keith Hackett, who exclusively told Football Insider that Premier League players feigning injuries have created an overall doubt for the officials. Liverpool have now confirmed a long-term injury to Bradley, who was carried off on a stretcher at the Emirates Stadium on Thursday, January 8, 2025, but only after the Brazilian winger attempted to push him off the pitch. Unsurprisingly, fans were furious with Martinelli following his on-pitch antics, and the anger has only been exacerbated after the news that the 22-year-old fullback could be sidelined for quite some time. The Reds will feel the hardest done by, however, after losing a key player in added time, but Hackett believes that Martinelli should not carry the entire blame after possibly making the injury worse. Premier League players are often accused of faking injury, like Gianluigi Donnarumma against Leeds United, with officials and the PGMOL playing their part in allowing these things to happen. Keith Hackett keen to take the blame away from Arsenal star. Hackett, exclusively speaking to Football Insider on the final whistle, said, "It was a stupid action from Martinelli, but he's a passionate player, isn't he? You'd have him in your team, there's no question about that. I think it blew up because the Liverpool player was seriously injured. We've got players who are cheating to have stoppages and water breaks and stuff like diving and simulation. This makes life extremely difficult for match officials and the fans because this incident could have led to something more serious. I don't just blame Martinelli, I blame the game overall and players' attitudes making the game difficult for referees." Arsenal pushing to sign 18-year-old midfielder in January. Arsenal are reportedly pushing to bring Ayoub Boadi to North London as early as January, with the club already taking formal steps in a pursuit that is accelerating faster than Lille had expected. According to Fabrice Hawkins of RMC Sport, contact has already been made at senior level as the club moves to get ahead of what is expected to become one of the most competitive midfield races in Europe next summer. Boadi, 18, is regarded inside recruitment circles as one of the most advanced teenage midfielders in Europe. A French Moroccan who joined Lille's academy from AFC Creil in 2021, he signed his first professional contract in August 2023 and progressed at exceptional speed. Only weeks later, he became the youngest player in the club's history to appear in European competition, making his debut in the Europa Conference League at 16 and 3 days, before becoming the youngest League One player since 1981 later that same month. His reputation rose sharply again in October 2024, when on his 17th birthday, he started a Champions League match against Real Madrid and delivered a commanding performance in a 1-0 win. By the end of November 2025, he had already passed 50 senior appearances across domestic and European competition. Lille is acutely aware of the scale of interest. Boadi first extended his contract to 2024 in 2024 and has since agreed a further deal running until June 2029, strengthening the club's position in negotiations. That has not stopped elite clubs from circling. PSG, Chelsea, Real Madrid, and Arsenal have all tracked him closely, with valuations now coming in above the €50 million mark. Primarily a central or defensive midfielder, Boadi has been praised for his press resistance, ability to receive the ball under pressure, his range of passing, and willingness to carry the ball through midfield despite his relative inexperience. He represents France across multiple youth levels and is reported to be studying mathematics at university alongside his professional career. Whether Lille will entertain a January exit remains the central question, but with discussions now underway, the groundwork for one of the most sought-after midfield moves in Europe has already been laid. Why Arteta hasn't started Nwaneri more. Following a rare start for Ethan Nwaneri on Sunday against Portsmouth, Arteta explained why he hasn't been playing more recently. Arsenal 18-year-old Nwaneri made just his 4th start of the season on Sunday, featuring in the lineup for an FA Cup tie away to Portsmouth. The Gunners had won all 3 previous matches with Nwaneri starting, beating Slavia Praha in the Champions League and Port Vale and Brighton in the League Cup and this Portsmouth tie kept that 100% run going. By the time Nwaneri came off in the 69th minute, Arsenal was already 3-1 up, with the match finishing 4-1. Given things seem to go well when Nwaneri plays, it's perhaps surprising he's still yet to make a Premier League start, and that he even dropped out of the lineup in the League Cup for the quarterfinal against Crystal Palace.
Speaking after the Portsmouth tie, Mikel Arteta explained that Nwanery's limited minutes are simply a case of Arsenal having such strong options at the moment. But he did add that Nwanery made a good case for himself on this occasion. He deserved that chance, Arteta said. Because of the strength of the squad and the players that are in the positions, he hasn't been able to play. Today he's done it, and I think he had some very good minutes. There's been some speculation